Fourth Starveling Audio presents Star Trek Tales from the Border, Episode 1, One World's Monsters, Part 1. The following is a fan-made audio production based off of Star Trek created by Gene Roddenberry.
Captain's log, stardate 55875.4. The Rembrandt is currently en route to Starbase 93, where we will rendezvous with 4 freighters bearing construction materials bound for Cardassia Prime. Our responsibility will be to escort these ships to the Tyson system, where we will be relieved by the USS Devonshire. Ship and crew are performing well. Morale remains high following the official end of the war with the Dominion 2 months back. This is our 5th escort mission in a row, and I fully expect this one to be as uneventful as the last one. Are we almost there?
Almost.
You make this hike every year?
Every year since I was 7. It's a family tradition. I always try to get home around this time, but it's not been possible these past few years because of the war. So I'm stuck with the holodeck. It's not the same. The sunlight's off. There's too much friction in the snow. It's far too warm.
Too warm?
The safety protocols must be getting in the way. Trust me, if this was really the Lacala Valley, we wouldn't be able to talk. It's hard enough just breathing with the polar wind in your throat.
Well, that's nice.
Enjoying yourself, Captain?
Yes.
Not too cold for you. You don't want to step outside for a Ractagino?
No. Do you want a week's worth of night shifts on the bridge? Doubly tedious when you're stuck on convoy duty.
Oh, lighten up. You came here to have fun, remember?
Oh, I am. I'm just finding it hard to be expressive right now with my face frozen.
Ha! You'll live.
If you say so.
We're almost at the caverns. From there, it's the sloping uphill march out of the valley. It's a little warmer in the caves.
How much is a little?
This is all wrong.
What do you mean?
Without the challenge of the elements, without the genuine threat, this whole trek is worthless. If we want to do it properly, we need to disable the holodeck safety protocols.
That doesn't seem wise.
Wisdom isn't the point of this journey. It's about strength of will and character, overcoming adversity, succeeding because the world's powerless to stop you.
Is it powerless, though?
Well, it never stopped me or my family before.
There is a bit of a biological difference to consider, you have to admit.
You can't let yourself stagnate now that the war's over, Captain. Can't you feel the tedium starting to sneak onto the ship?
Considering the alternative, I'm not so sure that's a bad thing.
It is if you let yourself die before you're dead.
Bit overdramatic, Kelan?
You know I'm right.
Gundry to Captain.
Oh, Mattingly here.
Incoming transmission from Admiral Al-Rais, sir.
Okay, 1 second. Computer freeze program. Reset room temperature to normal.
Call me when you're done. We're not finished yet.
No, of course not. Computer, Arch. Admiral.
Hello, Stuart. I hope I'm not interrupting anything.
Oh, no, sir, not really. One of my officers talked me into accompanying them on a march across a recreation of an Andorian valley during their late autumn.
I see. Sounds a bit suspicious to me. You haven't done anything to aggravate this officer recently, have you?
What? No, why do you say that, sir?
Oh, it's nothing. It sounds oddly similar to an academy prank me and some friends pulled on Cadet Rupert Phelps after he'd managed to create an EMP wave in our dormitory building. It took the maintenance crews 3 days to get the power online.
How do you manage that?
A midterm thesis which went slightly wrong. Well, sometime later, he passed out drunk in the Daystrom building one night and woke up in Antarctica. Oh my. Anyway, enough of that. I'm calling to let you know that your latest escort run is hereby cancelled. I have a different run for the Rembrandt to see to.
I understand, sir. What do you need?
You are to proceed immediately to the Turkana system. Tell me, have you heard of Turkana IV, Captain?
Yes, sir. A former Earth colony which degenerated into a state of almost perpetual anarchy and civil war not long after it was settled.
Indeed, and prior to the war with the Dominion, our last contact with the colony showed no sign that matters had improved there. However, things took an unexpected turn when the Dominion conquered that system. Our intelligence suggests this was something of an afterthought during their attack in the Borderlands prior to the retaking of Deep Space Nine. That was back before the Rembrandts being assigned here, of course. The forces they dedicated to this sector were minor. Many were suicide strikes by all indications, and we assumed that all that was left pulled back to Cardassian territory with the rest.
I can't imagine it did their war effort much good.
It didn't. The system, by all accounts, went pretty much ignored by both sides right up until the war's end.
And now?
This morning, I received a message from the Vorta acting as a kind of de facto governess for the colony. She apparently has a request to make of the Federation.
This raises a number of questions, sir.
To put it mildly?
The first, needless to say, is what the hell are they still doing in the Alpha Quadrant? I thought the last Dominion ships and personnel passed through the Bajoran wormhole last month.
The terms of the treaty demand that the Dominion remove its troops from any Federation, Romulan, Klingon, Cardassian, Zenkethi, Gorn, or any other sovereign power's holdings. However, Turkana IV presents something of a loophole in that regard. It's an anarchistic society with no recognizable government, ruled by whichever thugs happen to have the most weapons to hand. There was no legitimate power for the Dominion to return the planet to.
If they wanted to maintain a foothold in the Alpha Quadrant, that seems like an odd place to have it.
It may well have been their only option. The fact is, Captain, we're really not sure what they're still doing there, nor what they want, and I'm going to be frank with you. We didn't actually know they were still there until this Vorta contacted us. That entire region has never been under particularly close observation.
I see.
I've consulted with Starfleet. They think it's worth hearing what they have to say. You're my most senior captain within acceptable distance of the colony, so the errand falls to you. It may well be that they simply wish transport back through the wormhole, and if so, I'll be more than happy to facilitate their departure. If it's something else, well, contact me if you need to. If not, trust your own judgment.
Admiral, are you asking me to handle this personally? Are you not sending someone from the diplomatic corps?
The closest suitable diplomat is about 3 weeks away at Warp 9. Besides, the Corps still has its hands full in the wake of the war, putting the quadrant back to normal. Starfleet Command doesn't believe this mission will warrant a trained diplomat, and if it does, you can call one in, and these Dominion squatters will just have to wait.
Understood. Do we have any indication of enemy... sorry, sir, force of habit, of Dominion forces stationed there? Should we expect any trouble?
We've received the assurances of the governess, I suppose, that no harm shall come to your ship or crew. Secure your end of the transmission, Captain.
Yes, sir. Done.
I've given my assurances to this Vorta that if anything does happen to you or your people, I'll tip the Klingons off to their presence. Turkana isn't too far away from the border, and I have a hard time imagining that the Klingons would be too neighborly should they learn of a leftover Dominion presence.
Not exactly approved Starfleet policy, sir, but I appreciate it.
A proved Starfleet policy is a more flexible concept than some would care to admit. Anyway, truth to tell, we're not expecting trouble, but it pays to be cautious. In any case, I'll be sending your full mission details momentarily. One last thing, Captain.
Sir?
Starfleet wants you to ascertain the current mood and mindset of the colonists. As you know, we've had little to no contact with the colony, thanks in no small part to warring factions maintaining a stranglehold on the planet. However, if, as we suspect, the Dominion did away with their former regime in their usual murderous manner, it may be the population will be amenable to rejoining the Federation. Or perhaps not. See if you can't find out the current popular sentiment while you're there.
I understand, sir.
Safe journey, Stuart. Alrayas out.
Mattingly to the bridge.
Bridge here.
Adjust course for the Turkana system, Warp 7.
Understood, Captain. Ensign Ryder.
Aye, ma'am. Adjusting course.
New orders, Captain.
Indeed. I'm sorry to say some other lucky vessel will get the privilege of babysitting cargo ships, Lieutenant Commander. I'll be briefing the senior staff at 1900 hours on a new assignment. Please make sure the others know.
Yes, sir. Gundry out.
Captain's Log Supplemental. After 3 days' travel, we have arrived at the Turkana system and are on approach to the fourth planet. Our arrival has not gone unnoticed, and 3 Jem'Hadar attack ships are currently en route to intercept us. As yet, their shields and weapons remain lowered. However, they have ignored 5 separate hails.
Time to intercept?
60 seconds, Commander.
Hail them again, Lieutenant.
No response, Captain.
What the hell are they doing? Any change in shield or weapon status, Sazin?
None, Commander.
I recommend going to Yellow Alert, Captain, at least.
Negative. Not yet.
Keep monitoring them, Lieutenant. I want to know the instant something changes.
Helm, I'll stop. It appears we'll have to deal with this before we get anywhere. We'll let them come to us.
Aye, sir.
Captain, there's no reason for them to act like this unless they're up to something. Stopping dead gives them a chance to finish us with one volley.
There's no apparent reason for them to be up to something, Commander. They gain nothing by misdirecting us and lose everything if they attack us. What's one Ambassador-class scalp to the Dominion now?
They shouldn't even be here.
Well, they are, and we're here on a diplomatic mission, which means we must extend the olive branch.
Or the exposed throat.
Jem'Hadar ships changing course, sir. They appear to be moving to take up escort positions around us. One on each flank, one above.
That puts them beyond most of our weapons' firing arcs. Ideal if they intend to send a boarding party.
I know.
Now we're being hailed, sir.
Okay, here goes nothing. On screen.
Greetings, Captain. Allow me to formally welcome you to the Turkana system. My name is Taruna. You may well know already that I controlled this system in the Founder's stead.
Greetings. I'm Captain
Stuart Mattingly, yes. I've checked over your ship's file in our intelligence reports.
I see. Tell me, forgive me, I'm not sure what title is appropriate for you.
Just Taruna, Captain.
Taruna, would you mind explaining why you've ignored our hails since we arrived in system?
Certainly. We were curious to get a sense of your current attitude toward the Dominion and whether you were serious about the negotiations to come, or whether you'd proved panicky or mistrustful. Our manner of approach seemed a good way to test this.
Trust isn't established by questionable mind games prior to negotiations.
Trust isn't likely to be established at all, Commander Mk'Nas. This is a matter of necessity for us.
We're ready to get started when you are. If you wish, I can transport aboard your ship.
Not without a security team, you won't.
I think it would be best if I came to you, Captain. A Jem'Hadar attack ship doesn't provide the best venue for conducting diplomatic affairs. I'd also like to extend to you and any of your officers an invitation to dinner this evening on the colony. It may prove helpful for you to see just how we've managed the planet and its people.
We'll be glad to attend, and you're more than welcome to come aboard our ship.
Thank you, Captain.
We're ready to transport whenever you're...
Captain, get back!
There's no need for concern. You'll note I've come here alone and unarmed.
Lieutenant Dallow, close the channel.
That's much better. It's hard to get a proper look at people's faces with a portable view screen. None of you need look so concerned. I'm here at the captain's invitation, after all.
That is true, and indeed, welcome to the Rembrandt. I'll admit, however, we weren't expecting you so abruptly.
Thank you, and to be honest, Captain, I was perhaps over-eager to get off of the attack ship I came here on. I've never been fond of cramped spaces. If I could ask you to approach the fourth planet at 3/4 impulse, my ships will follow. We should arrive at what, for you, would be 1900 hours.
Very well. Ryder, see to it.
Aye, sir. Setting course for Turkana IV, 3-4 impulse.
If you and your senior officers are ready, Captain?
Lieutenant Dallow, please summon Lieutenant Commander Marlin and Dr. Crane to the conference room.
Aye, sir.
If you'll follow me, madam.
Of course.
You have the bridge, Lieutenant.
Yes, sir. Ensign Gilbert, you take tactical.
Yes, sir.
First, I think it would be helpful to provide an impression as to current affairs in this system. As I explained to your Admiral, the Dominion acquired Turkana IV during a recon enforce and spoiling campaign during the opening months of the war. This sector held little strategic importance to either us or Starfleet, and only minimal numbers of ships, troops, or resources were committed to this region. The 3 attack ships escorting you and a Cardassian troop carrier bearing 300 Jem'Hadar were all that were sent to the colony. Once the planet was secured, we did little more than maintain civil order and reform the existing colony and population to Dominion standards.
Excuse me, madam, but I read reports on Turkana IV whilst the Rembrandt was en route here. It spoke of several thousand armed individuals engaged in a state of unending gang warfare, no doubt using obsolete weaponry and piecemeal strategies. But even so, I imagined you require more than just 300 Jem'Hadar to conquer it, let alone hold it.
Your information is somewhat outdated, Lieutenant Commander. When we arrived, the persistent draining effects on the colony's already meager resources had left the 2 warring factions, the so-called Coalition and Alliance, in a pitiful condition. Their weapons had all but burned out, and between their infighting, malnutrition, and disease, their numbers were beginning to dwindle. It was left to me to secure the planet for the Dominion with the resources at hand, so I contacted both factions' leaders and explained that the Dominion was now in control of the system and demanded a swift end to the conflict. To that end, I offered Jem'Hadar support for their own forces if they'd launch a full-scale assault on their enemy. Both sides believed me. Both sides charged each other alone and devastated each other. The few who remained afterward were easily swept away by the Jem'Hadar. We didn't lose a single troop.
Just how many people died in this clever little slaughter you orchestrated?
3,324, Dr. Crane.
3,324. And that means nothing to you, does it? It doesn't matter that these people lived in such horrific conditions, that many had no choice but to join one of these gangs, or that many of those people might have been children who could have found a better life if given half the chance. They were just targets to be annihilated.
That is enough, Doctor. We are here on Starfleet's order to carry out an assignment, and I expect you to remain professional.
That's a well-practiced outrage, Doctor. I've seen it before. You're railing at me as a substitute for some other personal tragedy. I'd bet my life on it. Still, no matter. If you can look past your misplaced sympathy for a moment, try to imagine what kind of lives were lost. Murderers, thieves, parasites, and worse. They plundered the resources of the colony and left the people to stagnate, wither, and die pointlessly. The civilian population certainly shed no tears when the cadres were so suddenly gone, and it was through the Dominion's intervention that many more thousands of lives were saved on this world.
I believe we've veered into an unhelpful area of discussion. Might I suggest we move along?
Just to clarify, how many humans are currently on Turkana IV?
10,923.
You can control a population that size with only a few hundred Jem'Hadar?
The people felt positively predisposed to us as soon as we had, rather unwittingly I'll admit, liberated them from their oppressors. This sentiment only increased once we initiated restorative undertakings such as purifying the surface air or overseeing the rebuilding of buildings, the restoration of public facilities, and so on. The people were grateful for the order we gave them and remain grateful.
They've made the trains run on time.
From what you've told us, madam...
Just Taruna, please. There really is no cause for titles or formality with me, nor any Vorta.
Of course. To come to the heart of the matter, what do you need from the Federation?
This, uridium bicantazine, a critical component required for the manufacturing of Ketracel white.
Your own stock's running low.
Very astute. We've been cut off from all Dominion supply lines since the end of the war, and cannot produce the white with what's available to us on the colony without acquiring uridium bicantazine. Fortunately, the Federation has an ample supply, which our intelligence suggests it has no other use for.
The Federation doesn't aid in the production or distribution of narcotics.
Ketracel white is the lifeblood of the Jem'Hadar. It is the divine gift the Founders bestow upon them. It is not our narcotic.
It's the drug the Founders use to keep the Jem'Hadar on their leash.
Enough! I've told you once before to maintain the professionalism due to a meeting like this, Doctor. If you can't manage that, return to sick bay.
Understood, sir.
How long can your current reserves of white last?
3 Terran Standard months.
Okay, that gives us time to work with.
I'm afraid we don't have much to offer in trade, Captain. The primary resource of Turkana IV is its iron ore deposits, which attracted the initial settlers centuries ago. Needless to say, however, iron is now easily replicated, as are most of the other minerals we could offer you. If you do this for us, it would be an errand of mercy.
Forgive me, ma'am. Taruna, sorry, but under the circumstances, wouldn't it simply be more prudent for you and yours to return to the Gamma Quadrant? I can't imagine this world serves any purpose to the Dominion, and the logistical headaches of maintaining an outpost here would seem to outweigh any potential benefit.
You might be right, Commander Marlin. However, the practicalities are rather beside the point. This world belongs to the Dominion, and unless the Founders say otherwise, we will fight to the death, preserving the Dominion's claim before we abandon it.
It's not going to come to that.
Of course not. I just needed to make our position clear on the subject.
What are your orders regarding this world?
The Founder who oversaw our efforts in the Alpha Quadrant during the war deigned to inform us of the cessation of hostilities and of the coming cure of the plague which had infected the Great Link. But since then the gods have kept their own counsel. Therefore my orders remain what they were when this planet was taken. Hold this world for the Dominion.
There's been no contact at all during or since the Dominion's withdrawal?
None.
They've forgotten about you.
Of course not. The Founders forget nothing. Though it may simply be the case that this world, and we who guard it, are now beneath their notice.
And if that's the case?
Then our orders still stand.
Will the Founders sanction a trade deal such as this with the Federation?
If they find anything objectionable about it, they can amend the situation as they see fit, and I will, of course, heed their instructions.
Well, a matter such as this will have to be discussed and decided upon by Starfleet.
Though your recommendation would certainly influence this decision, Captain?
It would.
Then, in the interests of preserving lives, I should make one point perfectly clear. If the Ketracel white stocks are allowed to run empty, the Jem'Hadar will degenerate into violent, uncontrollable monsters, and they will turn on me and the colonists. To prevent that, I will have to order them all to commit suicide before the last vials are expended, in order to save the lives of over 10,000 Dominion citizens. The fact is, Captain, that that's not an order I can guarantee they'll follow. However, all potential deaths could be avoided if the Federation agrees to this one simple, harmless request.
I understand, Taruna, and you can be assured that Starfleet Command will understand as well.
Thank you, Captain Mattingly. I'm certain we'll be able to come to a satisfactory arrangement. Well, if that's everything, I should get back to my ship. I can contact you again when we reach the colony.
Unless anyone has any points or questions they'd like to make? Then I think we're done here.
Very well.
And that, as they say, is that. Opinions?
Assuming that she's telling the truth, this seems like a pointless errand, Captain. I'd suggest advising Starfleet to contact the Dominion in the Gamma Quadrant and see if we can't get the Founders to issue a recall order.
That's assuming the Founders didn't deliberately leave their occupation force here for some unknown purpose.
It's hard to see what that might be.
Add to which, if they wanted to maintain a base here, why let the white stocks dwindle?
I think the Founders are content to ignore this world entirely. Their own creatures mean nothing to them, and the human colonists mean even less. If the Jem'Hadar kill themselves or go mad and gun down a planet full of solids, what's that to them?
I'll admit, that's what I'm inclined to believe as well.
I'm not so sure. For all that the Dominion are known to sacrifice troops and ships just like that, they've never been known to be wasteful with them. Every attack ship that rammed one of our vessels, every battalion that fought to the last man rather than surrender, all of it had a purpose. And it's hard to imagine there'd be a purpose in letting those perfectly good personnel die out.
Such purpose probably meant more during the war, Stephen. Cut off from their empire in the Gamma Quadrant, they couldn't afford to be wasteful. Now it doesn't matter as much.
Well, for the moment the fact remains. They're here and they would appear to need our help.
I believe we should hold off on making any kind of judgments about whether or not to help them before seeing the colony for ourselves, Captain.
Agreed. We should find out if these people really are grateful for the Dominion's presence.
I concur. And besides, our mission is in part to ascertain the general mood of the colony. What can sensors tell you from this distance, Olivia?
Initial long-range scans have confirmed the presence of roughly 10,000 people on the planet and evidence of new construction on the surface. Beyond that, sir, not much.
Very well, we'll leave it there for now and see what dinner brings. Stephen, Olivia, you'll beam down with me when we arrive. Kelan, I want you to continue to keep your eyes open up here. It's still not impossible that there's some kind of plot in the works.
Understood, sir.
Dismissed. Dr. Crane, one moment.
I know what you're going to say, Captain, and I'm sorry I lost it like that, but it is not easy for me to sit here and listen to that smug bit, Vorta.
There seems to be no harm done, so we'll let it slide this time.
Thank you, sir.
This time only, Doctor.
Yes, sir.
I know this must be difficult considering what happened to your parents. However, our business here is not over and we're going to have to interact with her and possibly others like her again soon. You're going to have to put your personal feelings aside.
How exactly, sir? How am I supposed to just forget that one of their ships destroyed my parents' medical transport? It was unarmed, it had surrendered, and it was carrying war-wounded from Chintoka, and they destroyed it anyway.
I don't think you ever forget something like that, but what we're doing here isn't collaborating with the enemy or dishonoring the dead. We're maintaining the hard-won peace, and we're quite possibly working to save lives. There's no room for grudges or ill feelings here. I dare say your parents would understand.
I hope so.
Take it easy for a while. Clear your head.
Yes, sir. How's the arm?
It's fine.
Good. So why did you switch off the holodeck safeties? You never said back in sickbay.
It won't happen again.
That wasn't my question, sir.
No, it wasn't. The commander managed to convince me that doing so was necessary for the sake of immersion.
Immersion?
Yes, specifically immersing myself in the fantasy of freezing on an icy death field.
And then falling down a slope and breaking your arm?
I pride myself that I was able to walk to sickbay rather than having to be beamed there.
Uh-huh. Sir, with all due respect, did this seem like a good idea to you at the time?
Aren't I supposed to be the one chastising you?
You did. Now the subject's changed to a matter of concern for the CMO. Answer the question, please.
No, it really didn't.
Then why...
I'm not sure. Commander Mk'Nas talked me into it.
I see. And you didn't want to, disappoint her?
I think we're done here.
You do realize that this is more fuel for the rumor mill, Captain, on top of what they're already saying about you and the commander running off to the holodeck together?
Just how bored do you people get?
2 months on convoy duty, Captain. That's how bored we get.
Well, any gossip is nothing but foolishness. There's nothing going on.
If you say so, Captain.
Do you realize, Doctor, that there's currently an outbreak of Hochnilja sickness on the new Klingon Freeport in the Agelon system?
Sir?
Slime leak sickness. You haven't heard of it? A Klingon disease where the body's production of mucus goes into overdrive and the surplus is vomited out every 30 minutes or so.
Oh, yes. That one. I saw a recording of a case once when I was still studying at Starfleet Medical. I couldn't eat pea soup again for almost a year.
Indeed. Thankfully, as you may know, humans are immune to the condition, and as such, the Klingons have requested the assistance of Starfleet medical officers in combating this outbreak. How would you like to take a shuttle out to the Agelon?
Any gossip is nothing but foolishness. Understood, sir. If that'll be all.
It will.
Approaching Turkana IV now, Captain.
Very good. Standard orbit, Mr. Ryder.
Standard orbit. Aye, sir.
What do sensors say, Olivia?
Scanning. There's definitely a large population center on the site of the original first city, Captain. Looks like most of the population is located there. I'm also reading about 5 other settlements scattered about the same continent. Sensors indicate 255 Jem'Hadar life signs on the surface, Captain, all within the main settlement.
Incoming transmission from the lead Jem'Hadar vessel, Captain. We have transport coordinates and have been told we can beam down whenever we please.
Very well. Olivia, you're with me. Lieutenant Commander Marlin, report to the transporter room.
Aye, sir.
You know what? Vincent Ryder, you're coming too.
I am? Yes, sir.
Any particular reason, Captain?
It occurs to me he's never actually been on an away mission. It'll do the boy good.
Fair enough. Feeling up to visiting a Dominion-occupied world, Ensign?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Try not to look so frightened when you're down there. There's the dignity of the ship to consider. Don't worry. The Jem'Hadar will be more scared of you than you are of the...
No, don't listen to her. Get yourself ready and meet us in Transporter Room 2 in 10 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Ensign Beckett, take the helm. You have the bridge, Commander. I think it wise to have the transporter room keep a lock on us whilst we're down there, just in case.
Aye, sir. Watch your backs down there.
Welcome to Turkana IV, Captain.
Thank you, Taruna.
I'm afraid there'll be a slight delay with dinner. In honor of the occasion, I ordered that some of the remaining luxury foodstuffs confiscated from the cadres be brought out of stasis and prepared, and this has resulted in a small fire. I have no talented chefs at my disposal, and few competent ones. Whilst the staff tries to sort this out, perhaps I could interest you all in a quick tour of the city?
Certainly, I admit I am very curious to see what you've done with the place. It certainly looks beautiful from up here.
Thank you. By the way, allow me to introduce my staff. This is First Orthran Etran, leader of the Jem'Hadar detachment on this world.
Good evening.
Don't be rude, Orthran Etran. These are our guests.
I am not made to offer platitudes and pleasantries. Those are part of your ordained state, Vorta, not mine.
I have 300 of them here, Captain, and he's the most pleasant of them all. And this is my assistant, Johann Briggs.
Nice to meet you.
You too?
Well, this may be superfluous, but allow me to introduce Lieutenant Commander Olivia Gundry, my science officer, Lieutenant Commander Stephen Marlin, my chief engineer, and Ensign Ryder, one of the Rembrandt's helmsmen.
Welcome. If you'd like to follow me, there's an elevator that'll take us to the surface just through here.
I'm curious. Our latest report said that the surface had been rendered uninhabitable due to the prior civil war irradiating it over a span of decades. How is it you managed to resettle it so quickly?
The Dominion has had a great deal of prior experience in planetary reclamation, from ecological collapse to radiation cleanup. There was a time when it proved a regular requirement in the Gamma Quadrant.
Once Taruna and the Grey Angels. The Jem'Hadar had slaughtered the cadres and did that. What's it? Thing. They brought us up to the surface and we got to work rebuilding Turkana City.
Accelerated molecular breakdown device, a typical necessity following our assuming control of any planet.
Clearing up the radiation left after planetary bombardment?
Not always.
Grey Angels?
A local name for the Jem'Hadar.
Okay.
Hey, It's a fitting name. The Grey Angels and Lady Taruna came down from the sky and saved our world.
I'm not disputing that.
If this is any indication of the rest of the colony, that's an impressive amount of construction for just 2 years.
With an entire motivated planetary population working to the restoration of their home, it was a relatively straightforward matter.
It's never looked this good, not even before the Great Collapse and the rise of the cadres.
Unless I'm mistaken, you've kept the original colony's buildings.
A few of them, where the original structures were sturdy enough to be salvaged. The newer buildings are standard-issue Dominion prefabs, all produced and built from local materials. We were lucky, in a strange way, that there was nothing of any particular value to the Dominion's war effort on this world. It allowed us to focus on rebuilding.
Lucky, yes.
I'm curious, if this world was of so little value strategically and in terms of resources, why did the Dominion bother with it at all?
Strategically, this system might have made a convenient forward supply base for our fleet's push into Klingon space, though that was working under the assumption that our reinforcements from the Gamma Quadrant would have overrun the Federation in short order. Then, of course, your Captain Sisko somehow prevented that.
And when the planet lost that potential value,
we lacked the ships to evacuate ourselves, and none were spared. We operated here quietly whilst the war went on around us, careful to avoid notice by either the Klingons or the Federation, and yet neither side ever sent a ship to investigate this region.
The Federation was always happy to ignore us. Callous bastards.
Excuse me, this colony broke away from the Federation decades ago. Its affairs from then on were its own concern. Add to which any attempt at contact by the Federation from then on was typically met with threats of violence.
All of you Federation types were scared away by the vermin that a few hundred Grey Angels annihilated.
No, all of us had far more concerns than one colony that chose to leave us. Perhaps the wider concerns of a large star nation are beyond your comprehension, Mr. Briggs, but rest assured they do exist.
You miserable
Briggs, head down and keep an eye on the kitchen. Call us when everything is ready.
As you wish.
Interesting reaction?
Was that wise, Captain? We're not here to antagonize the locals.
No, we're not. However, we're not here to bear the scorn of the ill-informed either.
I'll thank you to employ a bit more patience in future dealings, Captain. Ill-informed or otherwise, there is a popular sentiment on this world that the Federation abandon it to languish in destitution and misery.
Understood.
What the hell?
What is it, Ensign? Oh, good Lord.
What's the matter?
You hang bodies from gibbets in the middle of a public street?
Enemies of the state, all of them. Murderers, thieves, traitors, and so forth. All left on display as a testament to the Dominion's commitment to maintaining the security of this world. Don't worry, they're all safely quarantined. There's no health risk posed from the carrion.
Oh, you leave decomposing bodies here for everyone to see, including children?
These bodies are a lesson. None require education in the realities more than children, lest they grow to become squeamish fools like you.
Enough. What you see, Lieutenant Commander, represents a jarring cultural difference between your people and mine. For the time being, we shall all simply have to tolerate such differences.
Infinite diversity and infinite combinations.
Ridiculous.
Hold your tongue, Orthronitron. The key fact to remember, Captain, is that the people here, humans, greatly approve of what we've done for them. They appreciate the order that was always lacking in their lives before. Ah, this will interest you. This way, please. From the age of 7 upwards, we teach any citizen judged sufficiently capable in basic combat techniques and also with the Kartakan.
Do people often find a use for such lessons?
Very infrequently, and it's proving less and less necessary each month. Still, Violence was the rule of law in this world for a great many years. That mindset doesn't just go away overnight. And with so few Jem'Hadar at my disposal, it's been necessary to recruit peacekeeping forces locally. We've also been experimenting with modifying Kretracell White for human usage to increase strength, reflex times, inclination towards loyalty, and...
You've been doing what?
I am joking, Commander.
Incompetent fool. Shall I rectify this?
Very well.
On your feet, now. You've taken a scratch about the chest. Your pectoral muscle has not been touched. Your breathing is not impaired. Silence your sniveling. Everyone, at attention! Your duty to the Dominion may one day require you to enter battle against the enemies of the Founders. In such battle you may bleed. You may break bones, lose limbs, and die. You cannot be afraid of any of these possibilities. Tomorrow, we will cut you all across the chest, between the second and third ribs, and again the day after that. When we are finished, you will no longer be afraid to bleed.
Captain!
Yes, Ensign?
It's nothing, sir. Sorry.
No, speak up, Ensign. You've been noticeably taciturn since your arrival. I'm curious to hear what's on your mind.
I'm not sure that would be appropriate, ma'am.
As I told your captain, it's not necessary to address me by any titles.
Well, this is a Starfleet ensign, I'm afraid. They're as likely as not to call their own mothers ma'am.
Well, you have nothing to worry about here, Ensign. Say what's on your mind.
Yes, speak freely, Ensign.
I have to wonder just what the hell are we doing here, Captain? Why are we having any sort of dealings with these people? Have we suddenly forgotten what they've done? How many people they've killed? For 2 months we've been escorting freighters bound for Cardassia Prime to rebuild the cities they ravaged. The death toll on Bet to Zed is still being calculated. They came within a hair's breadth of exterminating Bajor. They incited a war between the Federation and the Klingons. They've exterminated God only knows how many species in the Gamma Quadrant, and now they're hanging bodies in the streets and talking about mutilating civilians. Look at that girl. She's 10 years old at most, and tomorrow they slice her. These aren't just cultural differences. What we're seeing is downright wrong. Why are we tolerating this?
Do you remember what you said about ill-informed scorn, Captain Mattingly?
Would you excuse me and Ensign Ryder one moment, Taruna?
Certainly, but before that, let me just say this to your ensign. Your point, young man, is extremely one-sided. Yes, the Jem'Hadar attacked Cardassia Prime after they betrayed us. Keep in mind that it was the Cardassians who gave us our foothold in the Alpha Quadrant to begin with. Beta Z2 only suffered reprisals when they defied us, so indoctrinated by chaotic notions of freedom that they didn't even consider living under Dominion occupation. In our efforts to bring order to the Alpha Quadrant, which, if not for the Federation belligerents, would have been achieved without war, 4 of our gods gave their lives. And as I've mentioned, the people here enjoy seeing their enemies displayed as trophies in the streets, and we are not mutilating children, we are helping them to be strong. Finally, if you think that actions you find distasteful are restricted to the evil Dominion, perhaps you'd care to consider the Romulans' attempts to incite wars between Starfleet and the Klingons, the Cardassian occupation of Bajor, the pointless destruction of all life on Indri H, or the conquest of worlds such as Daganica by the Klingon Empire. Would you care to consider your own world's holocaust for a moment, Ensign? By your standards and ours, no solid species is innocent.
I apologize for this, Taruna. The war has left many of us with grievances, but this, needless to say, is neither the time nor the place for them. Excuse us. Explain yourself.
You did say speak freely, sir.
I did. However, I trusted you'd be smart enough to employ some common sense. That was naive of me, it appears.
Captain, with all due respect, you heard what you just said. Indoctrinated by chaotic notions of freedom, Federation belligerence. It's ludicrous, all of it.
Ensign, do you seriously expect people who were our enemies in the war to share our notions of right and wrong? Do you think they consider themselves the bad guys? Whatever they believe is beside the point. Whatever they've done in the past is currently beside the point too. We're here in response to what is, in essence, a distress call. Lives are at stake, Ensign, and you're lucky that our host is as patient as he apparently is. Do you have any idea how close you came to doing this mission and just what it might have cost these people?
Yes, sir.
Look, this is far from an ideal situation, Ensign. We have no trained diplomats on hand for this mission, and my only experience of diplomacy extends as far back as wheedling extra cookies from my grandmother back when I was 6. And the points you so tactlessly raised are certainly points that have occurred to me. However, the ultimate goal of the Federation, where the Dominion is concerned, even during the years of the war, is to find a way to coexist with them peacefully. The Klingons, Romulans, and Cardassians all have practices in their laws which we find abhorrent, but which are perfectly natural and proper to them. We have our own ways that to other species range from the craven to the criminally insane. That's just how it is.
Yes, sir.
Now, you'll offer an apology to Taruna and hold back any more outbursts like that until we're back on the Rembrandt. Understood?
Understood.
Captain's personal log. Dinner was a complete fiasco, and both my people and Taruna's barely able to contain our apparent mutual distrust and loathing. If anything else, however, this fact doesn't appear to be of any detriment to the negotiation process. All the same, I admit I can't help but feel like an imposter, or perhaps a jester, bumbling my way through this assignment, which, by rights, should be handled by a trained diplomat. Does Starfleet really place so little importance on this mission that they genuinely don't care how it turns out? No, I suspect they simply expect me to be able to rise to the challenge. Well, we haven't failed yet. One final interesting note. Ensign Ryder has come down with a peculiar case of food poisoning, which began to manifest itself during the dessert course. Taruna repeated her point about the local cook's lack of experience and extended a very polite apology. It's a notable point that myself and the rest of the away team came back just fine despite eating the same food. In any case, the ensign's condition is not life-threatening, and Dr. Crane assures me that he'll be fine in a day or so. Okay then, I trust everyone's read my report of conditions on the surface. Let's have everyone's take on this.
I don't like what I saw, sir. I'll admit psychology isn't my field, but from Taruna, all I saw were smiles and soft words, even as she's showing us the army she's raising from among the Turkana colonists. Factor in public executions and bodies hung in the streets as a warning to others. I have a hard time believing that the public actually support this.
I disagree. The sad truth is, just like Briggs said, these people's lives can only have improved dramatically under Dominion occupation. Where once they were living like rats in tunnels, quite literally scavenging for food and hiding from predators by all accounts, now they're fed, housed, and given a purpose, albeit an admittedly disturbing one.
Whatever her true intentions may or may not be, there's little she can do with the resources and people of this world. One task force could take the system easily if she gave them a reason to. In fact, one Galaxy-class ship would probably be enough.
If she is up to something, and that wouldn't surprise me in the least, then she wouldn't make it obvious. Gibbets, in training people by cutting them, could be nothing more than showmanship, focusing our rage and attention in the wrong place.
Maybe. And while it's hard to see what either she or the Dominion might gain from holding this world at all, it's certainly possible that some ulterior motive exists. However, it's also possible that we may be overthinking this entire situation.
Explain.
The Vorta aren't a conventional species. Like the Jem'Hadar, they're bred to serve a specific function. She's designed to do what the Founders want. However, the Founders aren't here to provide any instructions, so maybe she's falling back on standard policies they set up. Fortify the world. Make it safe and secure and orderly. You heard what she said when she was here, that despite how impractical it is to maintain a presence on this world, they won't abandon it because the Order hasn't come through to do so. It's not their decision to make.
Federation psychological analysis, while limited, repeatedly suggest a far greater degree of complexity in both Vorta and Jem'Hadar than their designs serve our nature would suggest. I'd advise against assuming her actions nothing more than the result of any kind of automatic adherence to protocol.
What was your impression of her, Olivia?
Hard to say, sir. She seems very neutral in everything she does. Perhaps that's just her nature. Or perhaps she's hiding something, though even things about her governance that she knew we'd find abhorrent, she showed to us without reservation. If nothing else, I don't doubt her patriotism.
Sir, whatever the fact of the matter is, our immediate concern has to be whether or not we'll give them the means to produce Ketracel White.
In the short term, unless anyone else can think of a reason not to, I'll advise Starfleet to provide them with the iridium bicantazine. Small quantities only, just what they need to survive.
I don't imagine such an arrangement would last long. Either the Founders will recall this lingering colony, or an enterprising Klingon vessel will find it one day and call in an invasion force to claim it for the Empire, simply because it's there.
I can't imagine this Taruna hasn't considered that. Perhaps the Founders have as well. What happens if the Dominion try to send more ships and troops to hold this system?
The aliens who stopped their fleet in the Bajoran wormhole will, hopefully, still be unwilling to let any more Dominion ships through. Even if that's changed, however, Starfleet will probably mine the entrance to the wormhole again before it allows the Dominion back in.
In that case, if I were her, I'd probably try and have this world become a Federation protectorate. She knows we wouldn't interfere with how she runs the place, and that we'd be obliged to help defend this world against any enterprising Klingons or Romulans or anyone else.
The Federation wouldn't risk its relations with the other major Alpha Quadrant powers, the Klingons especially, for the sake of one ridiculous Dominion colony which shouldn't even be here.
It wouldn't be the first time such a thing has happened, Doctor.
Cardassia was one thing, sir, and that situation came about thanks in no small part to the Dominion meddling.
Well, all we're doing now is speculating. In the short term, I believe we have enough information to make a report and recommendation to Starfleet. Any number of things could happen here in the months to come, but for the time being, I believe calm and vigilance is what's required.
Ensign Gilbert to Captain Mattingly.
Mattingly here.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Captain, but we're receiving a data burst containing a pre-recorded message from the surface. We're unable to pinpoint the precise coordinates it was sent from.
Patch it through to the conference room.
Aye, sir. One moment.
This is a message for the Federation starship in orbit. On behalf of the humans who still remember who they once were and haven't fallen for the bewitching lies of the Dominion, I bid you welcome to Turkana IV. We know why you came here, Captain, and we want you to know you have more friends than you know here. People who think like you do. People who know the Dominion does not belong here. You'll hear from us again soon. Very, very soon.
The hell is this?
Things appear to have become less straightforward.
So Taruna's rule doesn't enjoy universal approval? Imagine that.
Yes. This is awkward.
They know why we're here? What do they think they know exactly?
All senior staff to the bridge.
Report!
Sensors just detected an explosion on the surface, sir, inside the main city.
I relieve you, Ensign.
Yes, sir.
Another one, sir. 400 meters away.
Casualties?
I can't tell, sir. But both explosions occurred in what appear to be residential areas.
Dear God!
Hail the colony.
Aye, sir. They've acknowledged the hail and are telling us to stand by, Captain.
Dr. Crane, get to sick bay and be ready to receive wounded. Cezanne, inform the colony that we're prepared to offer medical assistance as required.
Aye, sir.
Olivia, try to find out what caused those explosions.
Aye, ma'am.
Captain, we're receiving another burst transmission from the surface. Another audio file.
Let's hear it.
Very soon indeed. We've struck the first blow, Captain, but it's nothing compared to what your ship is capable of. Strike now, strike quickly, and we'll reclaim this world for the Federation before the day is out. We know you've waited a long time for this. We know that's why you're here. We're glad to help.
You've been listening to Star Trek Tales from the Border, Episode 1, Part 1. This is a non-profit fan-made audio production from 4th Starveling Audio. Featured in the cast were Sean Young as Captain Stuart Mattingly, Rebecca Thomas as Commander Kelan Mk'Nas, Lisa Michaud as Taruna, Jennifer Dixon as Lieutenant Commander Olivia Gundry, Tara Kuykendall as Dr. Sophie Crane, Vernon Vincent as Lieutenant Commander Stephen Marlin, Richard Paul as Lieutenant Cezanne Dallow, Eric Alada as Ensign Kieran Ryder, Eric Kershaw as First Othran Etran, Steve White as Johann Briggs, Glenn Hibbert as Ensign Gilbert, Elliot Baker as Admiral El Reis, and John Leonhardt as the mysterious voice from Turkana IV. This episode was written, edited and directed by Richard Paul. The majority of sound effects used in this production are either iconic sounds from the Star Trek franchise, downloaded from www.trekcore.com, or else downloaded from freesound.org. Music used in this production comes from the computer games Star Trek Dominion Wars and Star Trek Deep Space Nine The Fallen. Star Trek is owned by CBS Studios Inc. Hope you enjoyed, and thanks for listening.